Hi guys, welcome to this week's Know You More Facebook Live, and this week we're talking about knowing time. So I found a really great quote by a guy called Jim Rohn, which is either you run the day or the day runs you, and I kind of feel like that's quite something that we've probably all experienced. Time can really get away with us in our day and we sort of lose track of it, maybe don't get what we want to do done. So there's something we're going to be talking all about today. So something that I think we also commonly say about time is things like I have no time, or I'm wasting time, or I can't find the time to do all the things that I want to do. And we can sometimes feel quite overwhelmed in terms of time because we maybe feel like we've got absolutely huge amounts to do, and that can be a reality. We can sometimes have way too much to do, way too much on our plate, or it can sometimes be a perception that we don't have enough time because maybe our thoughts aren't actually that well ordered and we're not that clear on what we need to do, and that can sort of lead to inaction or procrastination. And that sort of sense of anxiety that comes with having too much on our plate can also mean that we can procrastinate and not take action too. So things that tend to help with that are getting organised and using our time more effectively, which is exactly what we're going to talk about today. So we've got 5 life hacks for you today. And the first one of all is write it down. So everything that you've got on your plate, be it to do with your work or your studies, things in your personal life, things that are just really on your mind and you know you need to tackle at some point, write it all down on a sheet of paper. It doesn't matter if it's in any particular order, you just want to get it all out of your head and onto a sheet of paper. Our brains are not actually particularly good storage devices, and when we have too much going on in them, we actually then tend to end up feeling more overwhelmed and more anxious, and then we sort of find it harder to take action. So getting all that stuff out on a page means we don't have to store it anymore. We can use our mental energy for actually doing things rather than stressing about how much we've got on our plate. And this helps to give you clarity, and it helps to give you order to your thoughts, and it also lets you know that you're not going to forget anything. You've got your reminders on a sheet of paper, so it's okay to kind of take a deep breath and actually do the things that you want to do. So which leads us on to number 2, which is to prioritise. So you've got all your stuff down on your sheet of paper. Great, you know all the tasks that you need to do in your personal life, in your work, your studies, everything is on there. So now what you need to do is prioritise it all, figuring out what is really urgent, what's really important, what you can do later, you can put it off, you don't have to do it today, and also the stuff that you can delete off there. Once you've kind of got it all down there and you're kind of thinking about how much time you've got, you can go, do you know what, this isn't necessary either to do now or to kind of just put it off permanently. Something that I find really useful when I'm trying to prioritise my to-do list is something that I learned a few years ago. Hopefully you can see this all right. So we've got urgent and non-urgent quadrants, and important and non-important things. So the things that are urgent and important are the things that you're going to have to do today or this week. You know you've got to get them done. And so they go up here in this top quadrant. Then you've got things that are non-urgent and important. So things you can do next week, or this, make sure you do it this month. You're keeping your reminder on there, but you don't actually have to focus on it right now. Then you've also got the urgent and not important stuff. And we all have little things that we need to get them done relatively soon, but they're not massively important, but they have to be done too. And I kind of like using allotted times in my week. Maybe you've got 1 or 2 hours that you just go, right, this is my hour to be doing those little tasks and getting them done. And then this bottom quadrant is basically non-urgent and non-important stuff, which sounds like it's kind of things that can be moved off your pad. So I actually tend to use this square down the bottom there for personal stuff. So things that you know you need to get done in your personal life, things like book a doctor's appointment, chat to your nan this week, something like that. Things that you don't want to lose off your pad, but that aren't necessarily to do with your work or your studies. Okay, sometimes as well a few people that I've worked with have used their calendar as their priority grid, and they put in the really urgent and important things into their calendar so they know which days they're doing stuff on, which can also be really quite useful. So number 3 is doing the most important things first. I think we probably all had the experience where we tend to do the things that are actually easier or within our comfort zone, or shorter as well first. You kind of get that nice sense of achievement and like we're doing things, but actually they're not the really big important things that we need to do, and we can kind of put those off. So we use all of our energy and focus up on doing the things that aren't necessarily the most important things. So you've got your grid now and you kind of know what you need to work on, and it's a question of then putting that stuff into action. And sometimes the most important thing can be the biggest things. It could be like write your dissertation or write your job application for a role you want to go for, and they can feel quite overwhelming and huge because you really care about them. You've got a lot of work to do. You know it's going to take a long stretch of time. It's not going to be 5 minutes of working. So something that's really, really good to do in those cases is to really chunk things down and make them into bite-sized tasks or little steps that you can do. So that might be that your first task for write your dissertation or apply for the job that you want to might actually be 15 minutes of planning. That's your first step. 15 minutes of going, right, what are the big, if I look at this task, what are the big things I can do to break it down? For a dissertation, it might be, you know, research, finding out different methods of doing the research, talking to your tutor or talking to people who've been interested in that subject before. It might be reading books, it might be watching specific programs. So you're kind of starting to get this smaller list of things that you need to do, and you're really getting bite-sized tasks, and then you can prioritize those too if you want to, and kind of then take things step by step and see what you need to do first. Something that I quite like to do if I've got a lot on my plate, loads of different tasks or work streams in my life, once I've got those things down, is on my grid planner is to highlight 1 or 2 or 3 things that I'm going to focus on each day, so that it's not, again, a huge list of things you have to achieve. I'm going to talk a little bit more in a moment about why it's good to choose only a couple, but what I would then do is maybe put them on a post-it note or a little pad that's next to me, so I don't have this huge list staring at me the whole time and maybe distracting me and me thinking, oh, maybe I'll just do that other little task that's much easier. You've only got sort of between 1 and 3 things on that little pad or that piece of paper that you're going, right, that's what I'm focusing on today. And if you write those down the night before, when you wake up in the morning, you're ready to go. You don't have to think about where to start, you don't have to find your way through your to-do list, and it'll only take you a few minutes in the end of your day to do that, and it's a really good way to start your day the way you mean to carry on. And it's also really helpful as well to have maybe an hour or a specific amount of time that feels right to you allotted in the morning as well, for you to just be doing that one big thing or doing your planning or whatever you need to do, free of distractions. Put your phone on silent, put it right over on the other side of the room so you can't have it next to you and just think, oh, just quickly check my messages, or, you know, oh, my mate's just Snapchatted me. Don't look at your phone, because you'll start to lose your focus. Which takes us on to the next point, which is to focus on one thing at a time. I think there's quite a lot more research being done at the moment into the fact that we're actually pretty terrible multitaskers, men and women, and that actually we can't really do more than one thing at a time. If we try and watch telly, talk to our mate, check our phone, write an essay, and, you know, I've kind of seen that happen where we're having a conversation and we're on our phones. It just doesn't really work. Our train of thought isn't really fluent. We're not really getting the best out of our brains and our creativity and our productivity when we're doing that. Really focusing on one thing is a very useful thing to cultivate. And the little tip I just gave before of, you know, get rid of your phone, just have 1 hour where you're kind of tech free or something and you're just sitting down to plan or to focus, or going for a walk to clear your head if that's the right way for you to be more creative. Then really do it, get into the habit of doing that, because it will actually really help you to get a lot more done. And there's actually a great book called The One Thing by a guy called Gary Keller. And the kind of overriding thing of that whole book is that he has this question, which is, what one thing could I do that would make all other things easier or unnecessary? So with any task he's doing, if he's kind of, actually maybe doing your priority list or writing everything down could be one of those things, because it actually makes a lot of things easier because it chunks it down. You see what you need to do, you've got it all on a page, it's really clear, and it also shows you what's unnecessary, what you don't actually need to do to get things done. So it's quite a good question to ask as well. So number 5 is get real. And this goes back to my point of saying, choosing between 1 and 3 things. Lower your expectations. I think quite a lot of us have these huge expectations, these grand expectations of what we can get done in a day. Like, yeah, I'm going to do these 10 things, and then I'm going to go for a run, and I'm going to do all these things. And it kind of doesn't happen, and then you end the day feeling quite demoralised because you kind of think, oh, I didn't achieve what I wanted to, I'm not doing a good job. You end up beating yourself up. Actually choosing between 1 and 3 things to get done in that day, as long as they're not incredibly tiny, is again really useful, because it sets you up to feel more like you're achieving things and you're getting things done, and also helps you to focus in on those things as well. And I sometimes break up my day so just into 2 chunks. There's a task for the morning, there's a task for the afternoon. If I get more done than that, then that's brilliant. But if I'm choosing 2 big chunks of projects to do, then it just really helps to kind of clear your mind, so it's less cluttered and you don't have to worry about doing everything all at once. And also getting real about when you have most energy to be productive and where you do as well. Some people are really productive really early in the morning. Some people it's the middle of the day. Some people it's really late at night. So kind of noticing when you're actually most productive, most creative, doing your best thinking, or when you're doing your best writing. Really notice that. Notice when you've got the most energy, and start trying to plan your time and the way you're doing things around that. Make sure those times a day are free for you, so you can really utilise those spikes of energy that you have and get the most done. And also, where you're most productive. Some people have to be in absolute silence to get the most done. Some people love a really buzzing environment. Some people are good on their own, just head down, focus in on what they're doing. And some people really love to bounce ideas off other people, and that gives them more creativity and more insight and more inspiration. So start to kind of get used to what works for you. So those are the 5 life hacks. So you've got number 1, write it down, get it out of your head. Don't keep it all up there in a jumble, just write everything down that you need to do so it's all on a page. Number 2 then is taking that list and prioritising it, using the grid if that feels helpful to you. There are loads of other productivity tools out there, but that one is quite a simple one and it works quite well. So prioritise. What do you need to do now? What's urgent and important? What can you get off your list, or what can you leave to later? Number 3, do that most important thing first. It may be the most scary or stressful or biggest or most overwhelming, but break it down into little bite-sized chunks so you actually know what your steps are. Number 4 is focusing on one thing. Just do one thing at a time. Don't try and do everything. If you can, allot an hour of your day or more if possible to just having a really focused time, getting your phone away from you, getting your notifications so you can't distract yourself, to really just focus in on things, you'll be a lot more productive. And number 5 is get real. Lower your expectations, take the pressure off yourself a little bit, and actually you'll probably get more done. Really just give yourself 1 to 3 things to do a day, and you'll probably get a lot more done. And also think about when and where is best for you too. A little bonus hack too is by a really great positive psychologist who's got an absolutely hilarious TED talk, a guy called Sean Atcher. He's also written a book called The Happiness Advantage, and he talks about how success doesn't lead to happiness, happiness leads to success, and how getting yourself into the right mindset and right frame of mind actually will lead you to being better in tests and exams and more productive with your time as well. So finding any way to kind of make you smile and help you be a bit positive at the start of your day, go for it. Be that doing exercise, walking in a beautiful park, talking to your mates who really make you laugh and give you energy, or watching a stupid video, as long as you're not wasting 2 hours on YouTube, is actually really, really beneficial to your productivity. So something to think about. So we'll be here again next week at 5 o'clock on Monday to talk about knowing life next week. So please tune in and we will see you then. Cheers. Bye.